almost the 4th of July.
Good morning, this is Seawall728 filling in for J. Edgar. Today we have some fun little stories here and there. Capitol Police talking about setting up locations outside of D.C. The administration's talking about going door to door, and I have to make the obligatory, Das ist very good, ja? And finally, Subway is trying to save itself. This is Seawall728 filling in for J. Edgar for Contemporary. Now, before we get into all the news and the regular intro, I would just like to have you guys see what I was sent recently by our good friend, the lovely J. Edgar. Let's roll the tape.
Thank you for calling the Freedom Scoop IT division. Unfortunately, there are no specialists available to take your call as it is outside of business hours. Please leave a message after the tone and always remember, quiet boomer, you don't know what you are doing.
Hey Seawall, I know you're in there. Look, I'm about to go on vacation and everyone else has dropped out on me at the last minute here. So I gotta ask, man, can you cover Contemporary for one day? It's gonna be Wednesday. I've sent you over the nomenclature, the pictures, the audio, and everything else you're gonna need to do, and I've sent over my password here already. So, yeah, I really need your help. If you could pull through for me, that would be great. All right, hit me back. Peace.
And good morning, folks. Again, this is Seawall filling in for J. Edgar. And I'm not going to promise I'm going to do a good job, but hey, he asked me to fill in, and I'm going to do it, damn it. So, we'll start today with his usual thing, which is the Dow Jones Industrial Average. Looks like yesterday it fell by over 200 points. Not surprising in these uncertain times, though it's been pretty up and down in recent days. Going a bit further back over a 3-month period, we are still technically trending up, but there have been some pretty nasty dips. Hard to say where it's going to go, so I recommend all you have plans in place just in case everything goes to shit. The next thing we're going to look at is he usually goes for the Bitcoin index. Let's check the 1 month. It is still down overall for the month, and again, that one is extremely unstable. I'm not much into the Bitcoin thing personally. I find the technology fascinating, but not really going to push it too much. There we go. Next, we have the Pentagon canceling a $10 billion contract given to Microsoft over Amazon. Washington, the Department of Defense is canceling a controversial $10 billion contract, a cloud computing contract that has been awarded to Microsoft over Amazon under the Trump administration. So I guess they're just trying to erase everything that Trump ever did, though I don't exactly blame them, just due to the name alone. The department announced Tuesday that it's canceling the Joint Enterprise Defense Infrastructure, JEDI, contract. I know what you did there. That was previously awarded to Microsoft. Will instead seek a new solicitations for an updated joint warfighting cloud capacity, JWCC contract for Amazon and Microsoft. Contract would have resulted in Microsoft building a cloud storage system for sensitive military data and technology. And I'm going to tell you right now, the cloud is not that secure. I don't know on God's green earth why they want to go to the cloud for sensitive information. God, that's just insane. Yep. It looks like this is partially... Amazon filed a suit with the U.S. Court of Federal Claims contesting the decision, arguing that it was politically motivated by former President Trump's dislike of Amazon CEO Jeff Bezos and the Washington Post, which Bezos owns. In March 2020... it's just pretty... to be honest, it's pretty boring financial stuff. Let's see what's going on generally. Looks like Dow Jones futures and crude oil rebound. Let's take a look at that on investors.com. Dow Jones futures end up higher Wednesday morning when the NASDAQ futures rose solidly. Crude oil prices rebounding modestly overnight while the 10-year Treasury yield continues to fall. Stock market was mixed Tuesday as crude oil price and other commodity futures retreated while Treasury yields slumped to a 4-month low. Software and tech madcaps continue to lead. CrowdStrike, Zscaler, Bill.com, and Amazon broke out. Widespread ransomware attack gave a boost to cybersecurity plays such as CrowdStrike and ZS stock. The Pentagon canceled the JEDI contract, a likely win for Amazon. Looks like China's slumping a little bit. Let's see. Anything else of interest? Tesla retreated. Yeah, I'm not surprised. Tesla's pretty unstable. Now let's check CNBC Market, as J. Edgar usually does. Let's see. We'll reload this really quick. Sounds like much the same. Stock futures rise after a one-day pause and rally to records. Tech stocks lead again. U.S. stocks futures trade in slightly positive territory early Wednesday morning after the S&P 500 ended a 7-day winning streak, its longest since August. Dow Jones Industrial Average rose 25 points. S&P rose 0.25%. NASDAQ 100 futures popped by 0.6%. With falling rates and concerns about peaking economic growth, investors have rediscovered their old big tech favorites. Apple and Amazon are both up double-digit percentages returning in the past month. Rose in pre-market trading. Let's see. Bank shares, Goldman Sachs continue the retreat. So it looks like it's just pretty business as usual. Not much of a finance guy, so my analysis is going to be pretty basic. Now we're going to check out local gas prices for my local-ish area. Looks like they're sitting around 257, mid 250s to high 260s. A couple places go above that, but it all depends on where you're buying. So that's pretty par for the course for the last little while. Now, let's get on to some sad news, gentlemen. Unfortunately, we're going to need some Fs in the chat. River, the dog best known as Fallout 4's dog meat, has died. River, the dog which served both as the model and inspiration for Fallout 4's dog meat, has died. Developer Joel Burgess, who is River's owner, announced the death on Twitter and went over River's impact on the Fallout 4 development as a constant presence for the development team to understand the dog companion. River was also filmed, recorded, and had her behavior watched as a reference for dog meat. We have lost a very good girl today. A very good girl. Well, 10 days ago, but it is sad. Next, out of more tech news, groups, so not really out of tech news, but something I find kind of morbidly funny. Group dashes out of San Francisco Neiman Marcus store after a handbag robbery. And let's go to the video, folks.
High-end tape.
Is it just me, or does that kind of look like almost like a clown car-like effect? Just all those people running out all at once. San Francisco police are investigating a handbag robbery at Neiman Marcus store Monday evening. Authorities said the robbery happened at around 5:49 p.m. at a high-end department store located in Union Square. But by the time officers arrived, the suspects were already gone. Witnesses said the ordeal happened just before the store was about to close. They said that the suspects smashed display cases and snatched items from racks before fleeing. Cell phone video shows the suspects bolting out of the store right behind each other, with purses in their arms, appearing to the suspects awaiting getaway cars. It wasn't just one car, it was multiple. Really, San Francisco? This is what you're going to ignore? All I have to say, people, is get out of the cities. Just get out of them. There's no saving them. In a statement, Neiman Marcus said the safety and welfare of our associates and customers are top priority. We're relieved to report that no one was harmed in the incident. We're cooperating with the SFPD in their investigation. Yeah, look, it's good that no one was hurt, but these criminals are only going to get more and more bold unless you start cracking down on them, people. It's going to get worse, far worse, which means that you're going to need a much harder response. And I know that there are plenty of liberty-minded individuals in the chat that probably don't like the idea of actual militarized police. Personally, I don't have much of a problem with it at this point because, damn it, we need control again. San Francisco District Attorney Chelsea Bowden said that no retailer or employee should have to suffer from the brazen organized theft depicted in the video. Well, then why did you guys make it a? Why did you guys bump? I think San Francisco bumped up the minimum requirement for it to be a felony to over $900. Why don't you just drop it down, and thus you have that will lead to less people doing this because it's a higher risk. Did I lose the stream? No, things are still going. I guess Jay's a little behind. As of Tuesday, police have not yet presented prosecutors with an arrest or identified suspects related to the incident, but his office will immediately review any arrests police make before possible charges. Retail thefts are made profitable by criminal networks that fence stolen goods. He said to deter retail theft, we must dismantle the criminal networks that profit from it. Or just make it a more serious offense to steal in the first place. He said the DA's office operates a specialized organized retail crime unit. Jesus, you actually need a specialized unit for that? What's wrong with you, San Francisco? Bowden said apparently they have partnerships with local police generally to recover $8 million in stolen merchandise in 2020. I have a feeling they lost a lot more than $8 million in merchandise that year. Just thinking out loud. I don't know exactly. Other retailers have been prompted to react to similar crimes of their own. Over the span of 5 years, Walgreens has closed about 17 stores specifically as a result of shoplifting. So the places are getting worse, is what you're telling me. And even Walgreens, which is a pretty low-end kind of convenience store, pharmacy, can't hack it. I mean, Jesus Christ, people. But moving right along. White House says new ransomware attack not yet attributed, yet vows to take action if Russia doesn't. So, you guys are telling me you have no idea who did it, but you're sure it's Russia. Just like, I guess I'll have to say this, just like I'm sure the plan is working, and that Biden is the legitimate president. Honk. White House Press Secretary Jen, is it Psaki? I don't know how to pronounce that name, said Tuesday that while the biggest ransomware attack on record has not yet fully attributed to Russia, the Biden administration will take action if President Putin doesn't clamp down on cybercriminals within his country. He has no reason to be completely honest, because you guys are being fucking dicks about it. Not only that, but you're making it profitable. You guys paid the ransom. Never pay the ransom, people. I'm an IT guy. Do you know what we tell people? Don't pay for ransomware. Just rebuild from a backup. That's why you have backups. I mean, for God's sake, I have a backup for my server right here. And I have a second one of these at an off-site location. As the president made clear to President Putin when they met, if Russian government cannot or will not take action against criminal actors residing in Russia, we will take action or reserve the right to take action on our own. Paskey said during the White House news briefing. Shortly after the news briefing, Biden weighed in about the $70 million ransomware attack, saying it appeared to have caused minimal damage to U.S. businesses. Apparently, reading from prepared notes, Biden said he'll have more to say about the attack in the coming days, told reporters. I feel good about our ability to respond. Guys, you know how you respond? You make a public statement saying you're going to burn down your own system to make sure that every hacker in the world knows that the company would rather destroy itself than pay the ransom, and you will no longer be a target. Up to 1,500 businesses across the globe may have been affected by the latest ransomware attack that targeted Miami-based software firm Kasei, as hackers demand $70 million under the damage. The hackers targeted trusted support service providers in hopes to penetrate customer networks. One of the tools was used to infect the companies. Like Biden over the weekend confirmed was careful not to directly blame USA yet for saying hasn't been fully attributed yet. So you're using doublespeak bullshit here, guys. Just say you don't know who it is. Be honest. I get it. If you're honest, you're going to get a brain tumor like John McCain did when he actually thought about being a conservative for once in his life. But I think a couple of you dropping dead from brain cancer might not be the end of the world. Just be honest. Pisses us IT guys off when you're not. Since Biden met three weeks ago in Geneva, talks between the U.S. government and Russia officials have continued. An expert-level meeting between the two sides will take place next week about the issue of ransomware attacks. Yeah, and Putin's laughing at you. Putin is laughing at you. Hold on. Next one is some more tech news. So if you get the theme, that I'm doing a bit of tech news for y'all since, I find it interesting. Facebook, Google, Twitter, and other tech firms could leave Hong Kong over doxing bill industry group says. This one I find interesting. Hong Kong CNN Business changes to Hong Kong's data protection laws could force some companies to stop providing services in the city, according to an industry group that represents some of the world's top tech firms. The prospect of a retreat from Hong Kong was floated in a letter released publicly this week by Asia Internet Coalition, a Singapore-based association that counts Facebook, Twitter, and Google as its members. The memo, which is dated June 25th, sent by the group to Hong Kong Privacy Commissioner for Personal Data, pushes back on the recent introduced bill that seeks to crack down on doxing, which I think a lot of us could all get behind. The practice refers to the sharing of private information of individuals online usually to open them up as targets for harassment. Hong Kong government says that it has been a particular widespread issue since 2019 when the city was engulfed by mass protests. Officials say it led to people's photographs, identity card information, address being given out without their consent. Between June 19 and May 21, more than 5,700 doxing-related cases were handled by the Hong Kong Office of the Privacy Commission for Personal Data. But the number of incidents has fallen since 2019, according to the privacy watchdog. It says that it's received 1,036 doxing complaints in 2020, a 76% drop from the year prior. Well, that's because everyone who would have been doxed was probably doxed by that point, but doesn't change much. In the memo, AIC said that they were concerned with several parts of the bill, including a provision that said it suggests the government could prosecute the local staff of overseas platforms in case of failure to comply with authorities' removal requests. So what you're telling me is the government is using a good old government tactic if you don't listen to them. I get it, Facebook. I get it, Google. You guys think you're above the fucking law. You're not. So, go on, retreat. The bill proposes that any person who provides services in Hong Kong to Hong Kong residents can be served a notice directing an online platform to rectify what it calls doxing content. It also proposes that the Privacy Commission be able to prosecute failures to comply with those requests. Again, this is pretty standard government stuff. If you don't comply with an order from a government, they will eventually use violence. The legislation, which was introduced in May by Hong Kong Constitutional and Mainland Affairs Bureau, also proposes that offenders face up to 1 million Hong Kong dollars, about 128,700, and imprisonment for up to 5 years upon conviction. If it remains the government's intention to hold employees of the local subsidiary or entities liable for doxing content, we seek clarification on the legal basis for doing so. AIC wrote in a memo. You want to know what the legal basis is, guys? You're not following their orders or their laws. So, they're going to use pressure to force it. This is standard government stuff here, people. Now, let's move on to some more IT-related news. Audio editor Audacity denies spyware accusations. The open-source free tool with 100 million users worldwide is popular with podcast and music editors. I actually even used it for part of this little show. The open-source free updated policy says data can be shared with its Russia-based infrastructure company WSM, as well as regional law enforcement. Audacity says the only data it exchanges with its users is software updates and error reports, but since the update policy was published last week, there have been angry calls from concerned users to uninstall the product or to revert to an older version. And technology website FOSSPost described the most recent version as possible spyware. One would not expect an offline desktop application to be collecting such data, phoning home, and then handing data to governments around the world whenever it sees fit, it wrote. And, well, not entirely true. A lot of corporate software these days, or ones that are pushed by major corporations, even smaller ones, they do have call home features. I mean, Microsoft's Windows is full of them. Same thing with Office. There's a reason why I try to use more open source stuff myself, including this. But the thing is, I'm not too terribly worried about this in the long run, because if it is true that Audacity has these, what would be described as vulnerabilities in it, likely a group is just going to do what's called a fork of the current version, strip that stuff out, and then release it under a different name, like Open Audacity or something like that. Just give it a couple of weeks, and there'll just be a new version or under a slightly different name, and then this won't be a problem anymore. That's the advantage that I've seen with the open sourcing community. Audacity was bought by the Cyprus-based firm Muse Group in April 2021. Muse head of strategy Daniel Ray told BBC, "We don't know anything about our users. We don't want users' personal information. That doesn't help us." Well, it might not help you, but you can sell it for money. I mean, that's what Facebook does. The company which bought Audacity in April intended to release more frequent updates and wanted to alert users about the policy written by lawyers to be understood by lawyers rather than the average person was a requirement for any software that sent any form of information back to its creator. It also said that under 13s can no longer use Audacity app to comply with data laws. I mean, that's not surprising, but anyone of any age could still use the product in its offline mode. Sounds like pretty standard damage control. Here's the official statement. Here we go. Hi, everyone. I'm going to describe the actions that we propose to take to address the concerns raised about PR number sign 835 opt-in telemetry using Google and Yandex as third-party hosts. We're dropping the telemetry features, so basically the community outrage was big enough that they had to dump it. Regarding the features that require networking, we would like to include error reporting and the ability for Audacity to check for updates. Details below. We will self-host all collected data from error reporting and checks for updates, removing any needed Google or Yandex analytics. What happened? The creator and subsequent discovery of PR was a bad communication coordination blunder that caused us to completely by surprise. We're very sorry. So much alarm. So yeah, basically they're just trying to do a little bit of cover your ass. Moving on. Social media erupts after Linda Sarsour pushes anti-Semitic conspiracy in Surfside collapse. I know, not the best source to come from. It's definitely a little bit incendiary, but I thought it was mildly humorous. Women's March co-founder Linda Sarsour was barraged with criticism after she promoted an anti-Semitic conspiracy about the condo collapse in the Surfside, Florida on Twitter. On June 27th, an expert recovery team with the Israeli Defense Force joined emergency crews in Surfside, Florida, to rescue survivors and pull bodies from the wreckage of the collapsed condominium. On Monday, Sarsour shared and appeared to endorse a tweet questioning the IDF's involvement in the rescue operations, accusing the Jewish military of targeting civilians. Yeah, Sarsour, that is not a good look. Look, I've got my issues with the IDF. I'm not the biggest fan of everything going on, but I understand why they use heavy-handed tactics. They're dealing with, what's a good way to put this? Literal terrorists. Again, I don't like what they do, but it is the way of things. Israel technically does have a right to defend itself. You can question the means they use to defend themselves, all that stuff. But they are sending experts in a situation that, well, how do we put this simply? Oh, what's a good way to put this? I'm trying to think. What would be a good way to put this? They're helping a legitimate tragedy. A preventable one, but a legitimate tragedy. I really don't understand the Israeli Defense Force's involvement in rescue attempts of people tragically crushed under a building in Miami. Their expertise is in crushing buildings with people in them, not rescuing them. Yeah, that's a real bad look, Sarsour. Real bad look. Oh, of course, she goes down the taking a few days break from Twitter, blah, blah, blah. Expect more spicy takes from her in the future, as well as smooth brain takes. Moving right along. And a little bit of, how do we put this? A little bit of deja vu. Biden's new dilemma: how to slash housing costs for low-income borrowers. Does anyone think, 1970s Jimmy Carter pushes, some of the stuff from Reagan in the 80s, or more specifically, good old Billy Bob Clinton out of the 90s? President Joe Biden's move to fire top U.S. mortgage regulator is triggering calls from fellow Democrats to use the agency to expand access to loans for low-income people who have struggled to buy a home since the financial crisis. The financial crisis was caused by you guys pushing low-income borrowers into buying homes. You're literally doing the thing that caused it. Stop. There is a natural home ownership rate in the United States. Stop trying to artificially raise it. That's setting up a clash with Republicans over how far the government should go in shaping the industry. It makes up one-fifth of the U.S. economy. A long-awaited Supreme Court decision last month gave Biden the ability to remove the Trump-era leader of the Federal Housing Finance Agency, and he wasted no time. The president installed an interim director, an agency veteran who says she'll make affordable housing and combating discrimination a top priority, but who has underwhelmed those on the left who says she's merely a caretaker. Progressives are concerned that Biden will be too timid in changing the course at the powerful agency overseeing Fannie Mae and Freddie Mac, the two companies that stand behind half of the $11 trillion U.S. mortgage market. Top Democrats are calling on Biden to quickly name a permanent leader, a position the Senate banking chair, Sherrod Brown's spokesman, said is vital to the administration's goal of building an equitable economy and must be filled quickly. I hate them using that term equitable or equity. They're replacing equality with equity, and they don't realize, and a lot of people don't realize what the hell is going on. Equity is not things you should target because of the government is pretty shit at doing things. So eventually it's going to go lowest common denominator. You will get commie blocks because that's all the government can do for cheap. Commie blocks that collapse faster than goddamn Surfside, that's for damn sure. They knew this moment was coming, said Jesse Van Tol, CEO of National Community Reinvestment Coalition, a housing advocacy group. Why don't we have a nominee? Pressure from the left posed a tough choice for Biden. Democrats for years have pushed the agency responsible for Freddie and Fannie to expand homeownership and narrow the racial wealth gap. You can't. You can't artificially remove gaps. If you try to artificially remove them, it will lead to worse things. A philosophy that I've always kind of lived by is if you try to fuck with the invisible hand, it will eventually bitch slap you. Oh, here's something funny. Fannie and Freddie were seized by the government in 2008 to avert their failure during the subprime mortgage crash. So the government seized parts of the government. That's a funny one. Moving along to one of our top stories. Subway making the biggest menu change in its history. After years of declining sales, Subway is hoping to reintroduce itself to customers and convince them to give the sandwiches a shot. When was the last time you guys had Subway, chat? Because, last time I had it, I was, I think, still working in the office. And that's because there were no other choices. Next week, Subway restaurants across the country will unveil an updated menu designed to improve items across the board. The chain says the move is the biggest menu change in its history. Revamping includes new recipes for the chain's Italian and multigrain breads, as well as a new sandwich toppings. The chain is also tweaking items already on the menu. Subway bacon, for example, will now be hickory smoked. Oh boy, I know you guys are all happy with that. They're swapping to hickory smoked bacon. I bet you're all going to go out to them now. Its turkey and ham slices are sliced more thinly, so it's a cost-cutting measure. That's code for a cost-cutting measure, because I doubt they're going to give you more slices. It's also bringing back past items like the rotisserie-style chicken and roast beef to encourage customers to try the new ingredients. Thousands of restaurants plan to give away up to 1 million free sandwiches between 10 a.m. and 12 p.m. on July 13th. The chain is also updating its look of its app and partnering with DoorDash to let customers order delivery directly from the Subway app. Some shoppers once considered Subway to be an affordable, relatively healthy option. They could load their sandwiches with their preferred mix of veggies and protein without breaking the bank, but in recent years, competition in the fast casual space has helped edge out Subway. I mean, you guys also kind of hired a pedo, so that usually doesn't help brand image. I mean, at the end of the day, good luck, Subway. Hopefully it works out. Moving on. Russia Cozy Bear breach. GOP as ransomware attack hit. Russian government hackers breached the computer systems of the Republican National Committee last week. Around the time, Russia-linked criminal groups unleashed a massive ransomware attack, according to two people familiar with the matter. So, Republicans are both controlled by the Russians, a la Trump, but they're also being hacked by the Russians. Can somebody square that circle for me? Because I'm not seeing this. Wouldn't they hack the DNC? The government hackers were part of a group known as APT29 or Cozy Bear, according to the people. The group has been tied to Russia's Foreign Intelligence Service and has previously been accused of breaching the DNC, which in 2016, and of carrying out a supply chain cyber attack involving SolarWind Corp, which infiltrated 9 U.S. government agencies and was disclosed in December. In a statement following the publication of the story, Chief of Staff Richard Walker said the RNC learned over the weekend that a third-party provider, Syntex Corp, had been breached. We immediately blocked all access from Syntex accounts to our cloud environment. Our team is working with Microsoft to conduct a review of our system, and after a thorough investigation, no RNC data was accessed. So, technically speaking, the RNC wasn't even directly hacked. One of their third-party vendors got hacked, and there was a possibility for a brief window of time that, quote-unquote, Russians could potentially gain access to the RNC. In a statement, Microsoft declined to provide additional details. We can't talk about specifics of any particular case without customer permission, which is pretty standard corporate speak. We continue to track malicious activity from nation-state threat actors, as we do routinely, and notify impacted customers. Of course, a spokesman for the Russian embassy in Washington didn't respond to a comment. Yep. So they're trying to tie everything to Russia. And guys, it isn't working. You want to know how you fix this problem? Hire more cybersecurity people. Shut down parts of your PR department if you have to, for God's sake. Increase the budget. Look, I get it. Russia aren't the good guys, and they're going to cause some trouble. But at the end of the day, I'm in the camp of, can we just stop poking the bear, please? You know, let the Russians be. It's not our fucking problem until they start fucking with our systems. We leave them alone. They should leave us alone. Now, to one of the top stories. U.S. Capitol Police to open California office following Jan 6th attack, a.k.a. the January 6th Selfie Fest. The U.S. Capitol Police on Thursday announced the agency was opening regional field offices in California and Florida to investigate threats to members of Congress in the wake of the January 6th attack on the Capitol. Isn't that the FBI's job? I thought the FBI investigated interstate threats for congressmen and senators. And I thought the Capitol Police's job was to police the Capitol. So, why are they setting up office? Oh, wait. It's to get another agency created so they can start causing more trouble for the average person. Really, guys? Really? Threats against members of Congress have increased in recent years. As of Thursday, the total threats so far in 2021 were doubled what they were at this point a year ago, according to Capitol Police. Home to House Speaker and Minor Leader Kevin McCarthy and other prominent members of Congress, California gives law enforcement agencies a western base to investigate claims of threat against members. The state also is home to the nation's largest congressional delegation. Something Pittman. The department acting chief told lawmakers in March that the vast majority of the increased threats were from people who didn't live near Washington. Well, no shit. Tell the FBI and move on. You're the Capitol Police. You shouldn't have anything operating outside of the Capitol. I mean, I could see maybe if you guys are like, chasing chasing a guy in a foot chase if he happens to run just outside of the jurisdiction of Virginia. I could see them, doing a little bit of dipping their toes into Virginia or Maryland, but you don't need an office in California. Let the FBI know and move on. The field office, the field offices will be in Tampa and San Francisco, according to the Capitol Police. At this time, Florida and California are where the majority of our potential threats are. The field offices will be there first for the department. A regional approach to investigating and prosecuting threats against members is important, so we will be working closely with U.S. Attorney's Office in those locations. Again, we have the FBI. And I know, you guys want more control, but too many cooks in the kitchen, for God's sake. Too many cooks. Moving right along. Governor Cuomo declares first in-the-nation gun control violence disaster emergency as part of a comprehensive strategy to build a safer New York. Here we go. Issues executive order declaring gun violence a disaster emergency, requiring DCJS to gather and share incident-level data from local police departments on gun violence. I don't think you guys are going to go very far with this because you're going to find out very quickly that the narrative of who's committing gun violence will, it'll break the narrative. So, currently taking bets. How long before this thing dies? Do I have 6 months? Do I have 6 months? Okay. Creates an off. Governor Andrew Cuomo today declared the first in-the-nation gun violence disaster emergency as part of a new comprehensive strategy to build a safer New York. This new strategy treats gun violence as a public health crisis, which is basically code. They're using this as a backdoor way to do whatever the hell they want. Just because the public health laws are just wide open. Back in the day, people thought doctors would have the best of intentions. But no. We found out that doctors are, in fact, human. Who would have thunk that? That a doctor could be just as corrupt as any politician. Okay, here we go. This new strategy treats gun violence as a public health crisis using short-term solutions to manage the imminent gun violence crisis and reduce the shooting rate, as well as long-term solutions that focus on community-based intervention and prevention strategies to break up the cycle of violence. You mean that cycle of violence that's caused almost entirely by the single motherhood rate in certain, let's go with, diverse communities? The disaster emergency allows the state to expedite money and resource communities so they can begin to target gun violence immediately. There we go. That's what it is. They're using the public health crisis to get more money. As always, backdoor crap. To coordinate this nation-leading gun violence prevention effort, the governor announced creating the Office of Gun Violence Prevention. The governor also required by the executive order major police departments to share incident-level data on gun violence with the New York State Division of Criminal Justice Service to compile this data weekly. This data will be used by the new Office of Gun Violence Prevention to track emerging gun violence hotspots and deploy resources to the areas that need it most. Or, you could just reduce the barrier to entry to get guns for the average citizen, encourage them to form, let's call it community defense organizations, where you have a bunch of people pooling together to defend their community from potential internal or external threats. Similar to what the founders would call I don't want to use that word, but I think you guys know what I'm going at. Bring back what's considered the evil M word. Then from there, you just let the community handle the problem, because what criminal wants to cause a crime in an area where every other citizen is strapped to the nines and better trained than the police in how to use them? Let's see. The comprehensive strategy also includes $138.7 million investment in intervention and prevention programs, which last I checked, those did next to nothing historically, including programs that engage at-risk youth in summer job opportunities and community activity programs to get young people off the streets. So you're going to get the young people off the streets, but you've already locked them down, yet the gun violence is going up. I don't think you realize what the problem is here, guys. Let's see. The governor also announced the creation of a new state police gun trafficking interdiction unit to stop the flood of illegal guns that come into New York from states with weak gun safety laws, which is illegal. That's already illegal. Transporting of guns across state lines, that can cover very hefty fines. Yeah, straw purchasing is already illegal, and that's also, I believe, federally illegal. Transferring guns from one state to another without a licensed gun dealer involved. Here we go. We're building New York back. We're building New York back better. There's that little dog whistle phrase again. Build back better than ever before. But part of the rebuild is to address the systemic injustices that were exposed by COVID. If you look at the recent number, more people now are dying from gun violence and crimes than COVID. This is a national. Wait, more people are now dying from gun. Okay, if you're talking about current COVID numbers, yeah, we're at the end. We're at basically the tail end of the pandemic. Because, even though there are new variants coming out, people who have already gotten it have a certain amount of immunity from it. And those that have gotten the vaccine, assuming there isn't something else wrong with the vaccine or it's not flawed in some way, should also have a certain level of immunity or effectiveness from it. So, of course, the numbers are going down. And thus, the numbers, comparatively, are going up. Nice little switcheroo with the statistics there. Let's see. Well, I was seeing by the New York State Department of Health. So a bunch of doctors are going to try to deal with the gun violence problem. Yeah. That's going to go well. Appointed gun violence prevention coordinator who can coordinate all government approaches to ensure state and local programs are advancing. Unified gun violence prevention strategies. The office will include a task force representative from state agencies, including the Office of Mental Health, Children and Family Services, Temporary and Disabled Assistance, the Prevention of Domestic Violence, Victim Services, the Department of Labor and Housing. So yeah, you're just trying to get all the government things to be centrally controlled. That's not going to really help much. Oh, guys, 2A people, you've been BTFO. They're going to target hotspots using science and data. God, this just... As with COVID, the state will use cluster-based strategy to contain and combat the epidemic and identify gun violence hotspots where the cluster shooting are driven by small numbers of people. So basically what you're telling me is you guys are using the same stuff that police have been using for a long time. Moving along. Officials search Mall of Louisiana for escaped 12-foot python. And I'm like, God damn it, did the simulation break again? Baton Rouge. First responders are searching for parts of the Mall of Louisiana for a large snake that escaped an exhibit at the shopping center Tuesday morning. Who puts a reptile exhibit in a mall? Please, who greenlit this? The St. George Fire Department was called around 10:20 a.m. to help locate the python, which escaped an enclosure at the Blue Zoo Aquarium. Oh, that's it. It's at an aquarium. Officials said the snake is about 12 feet long, and they believe the animal made it to the ceiling. A spokesman for Blue Zoo said that the Burmese python named Kara is non-venomous and quite friendly. I'm sure there are people that hate snakes that are not too happy about that being there. The aquarium shut down voluntarily Tuesday for Kara's safety, and staff believe she is still somewhere in the Blue Zoo premises. The aquarium said it expects the search for Kara to continue into the night, but employees don't believe she's gone far. Workers aren't sure how she managed to escape her enclosure. Yeah, possibly if she escapes again, expect a hashtag Free Kara movement to form, similar to I think it's what was it? I think is it Otis, the monkey that kept escaping. But let's move on. Thought I'd throw in a couple of joke stories like this one for you guys, just to give you a little bit of hope for life. Now, for one of the top house plants in Congress, Major Taylor Greene, the Fulton County audit is going to reveal serious election fraud. The forensic auditor has already found a very big issue, causing drastic vote tally change, and they are barely getting started. Biden did not win my state. Look, guys, there is a possibility, as there is always, that these audits find something. I don't have a lot of faith in them, to be honest, just because they're not doing full signature match. They're being done by third-party groups so that there's a certain amount of attack that can be done because they're not official groups doing the audits. And they're prepping it, but they're doing a lot to try to stop this. So maybe they find something. If they do, I'll sit on my porch and enjoy some marshmallows while the world burns. Next, we've got, here we go. Looks like BLM is not happy with Lori Lightfoot. Lol, BLM in Chicago is calling for the resignation of Lori Lightfoot. I am shocked that BLM is not happy with a leader that capitulated them almost completely. It's almost like it's an angry mob and it cannot be appeased. Now,
ways to make special focus
Now
on
we get into
five
the,
ways to make gains and
Now we get into one of my more interesting stories that's cropped up. The government is talking about going door to door for the vaccine, and when I thought that, my the little German guy in my head started going like, "That is very good, yeah, very good. We will go door to door and we will ask people these questions, like, are the unvaccinated in the attic, under the floorboards? Where are you hiding the unvaccinated, yeah?" Oh, there are many people that are what's the opposite of spinning in your grave? Because I know spinning in graves when you're pissed. You know what? I think they're so excited they're spinning in their graves. Certain German individuals from the 1930s and 40s are very happy at this plan.
getting
Now let's hear what the duly elected president
ways
says.
to make gains and getting those of you who are unvaccinated vaccinated. Because here's the deal. We are continuing to wind down the mass vaccination sites that did so much in the spring to rapidly vaccinate those eager to get their first shot and their second shot, for that matter, if they needed a second. Now we need to go to community by community, neighborhood by neighborhood, and oftentimes door to door, literally knocking on doors, to get help to the remaining people protected from the virus. A special focus on five.
And then they doubled
healthcare
down.
settings and respond to hotspots. The president will outline 5 areas his team is focused on to get more Americans vaccinated. 1, targeted community by community door-to-door outreach to get remaining Americans vaccinated by ensuring they have the information they need on how both safe and accessible the vaccine is. 2, a renewed emphasis on getting the vaccines to more primary care doctors and
Look, I know my history pretty well about the medical industry and emergencies and the rapid release of various treatments and medications. It's fraught with failure and burying. And look, at the end of the day, I'm in a low risk category. So, I am going to not get the vaccine for as long as possible. I know at some point I'm pretty sure my work is going to require it, which is going to suck, but you know, that's the nature of the beast. But for now, I'm just waiting for more information. Because at the end of the day, I'm not anti-vaccine in general. I am just skeptical of this rushed vaccine that is using new methods that have not been fully tested in the long term. Sure, very likely it's fairly effective. But we're also, pushing something under emergency use. The best option, the option in my opinion, should have been sent out to the vulnerable, and then the rest they should say, look, it's up to you guys. If you want to get it, you can get it. But there are risks either way. And they are pushing this hard, making me think, what is the ulterior motive? What are they not telling us? Because, guys, again, medical history is full of pandemics and disease outbreaks where the government or even private medical groups are trying to push something and it turned out to be bunk. It's not the first time. Now, an end to the story of Richardson. No relay. Banned sprinter. Richardson left off the Olympic team. Banned sprinter Sha'Carri Richardson was not on the Olympic team roster released Tuesday by the U.S. Track and Field, a decision that means the American champion's positive test for marijuana will cost her a chance to run on the relay team in Tokyo, in addition to her spot in the 100-meter individual race. Richardson's positive test nullified her win at the Olympic trials in Eugene, Oregon last month, and the spot that went with it in Tokyo in the 100. Her 30-day suspension will end before the start of the relays on August 5th, which left open the possibility she could win a medal as part of the 4x100 team. but her name was missing from the USATF sent out. The Federation has 2 discretionary picks beyond the top 4 finishers in the 100-meter final at the trials, but chose not to offer a spot to the 21-year-old sprinter who's expected to challenge for Olympic gold. Asked how Richardson was taking the news, her agent responded, "We haven't spoken about it at all. It was actually not a topic we focused on." And look, at the end of the day, I'm not a fan of the war on drugs. And it's not because, I'm going down the liberty-minded path argument. I'm going down it's a waste of fucking time and money, which could be better spent on other things. If people want to get high, let them be burnouts on the edge of society. Just, at the end of the day, let them ruin their own lives, whatever drug of their choice is. Just don't expect to get any help from me when you hit rock bottom. In her case, in the case of sports, even though people can say, oh, marijuana isn't a performance-enhancing drug, it can lead to the calming of nerves, which can be a performance enhancer. So I completely am fine with private organizations like the Olympic Committee from banning certain substances. It makes sense. It's part of sportsmanship and fair competition. If you, smoked a joint the night before a match and got a good night's sleep, whereas the person next to you was worried about it the whole night, that is an unfair advantage. So yeah, you could call me, old-fashioned, but I think this decision was the right one. She broke the rules, and she has to take the consequences for that. Good luck in 2024 is all I can say. And not only that, but she's pretty lucky she only got off with a 1-month suspension. Phelps got popped for it in the off-season, and he got a 3-month suspension and lost a ton of sponsorships. Yeah. Moving on to let's see. Oh, that's just the CNN main page. Sorry about that, boys. I forgot that when I was doing research. Here we go. And kind of a final update from regarding it. Pfizer vaccine protects against protection takes a hit against the Delta variant spreads, as Israeli government says. The Israeli government says that its analysis shows Pfizer BioNTech coronavirus vaccine appears to be less effective against infections caused by the Delta variant compared to other strains of COVID-19. But the important question is, even though it may not give you super high effective protection, is it reducing the severity of it to the same level? In a brief statement Monday, the government said that as of June 6th, the vaccine produced 64% effectiveness against the infection. In May, where the Alpha variant dominated in Israel and the Delta variant strain had not yet spread widely, it found that the shot was 95.3% effective against all infections. Again, I question those numbers because I also know that they changed the definition of what a infection was. Because originally, if you guys remember, that was entirely based off if you popped positive on the tests, which even the creator of the test that was used for the coronavirus said that is not a way you test for. You need to combine it with, you need to either do multiple tests or you need to have additional tests to confirm it. So they changed the definition. So of course it seems super effective. And, look, I'm not the biggest fan of all that's going on. I hope against hope that it is as effective as they say it is. And I hope against hope that it doesn't have long-term effects. But again, this is new. This is technology that, while mRNA has been known for decades, has not been widespread deployed. And it's one of those things that I'm curious to see what it's going to be like in 5-10 years. Are we going to get this commercial saying, do you have these symptoms? Did you get the coronavirus vaccine during these dates? You may be entitled to XYZ. That's what I'm half expecting under best case circumstances. Under worst case, I just hope to God there isn't there's just not massive piles of bodies by the end of this. And now, we're going to start kind of entering the final stage of the show. I do apologize if I've not been the best. First time I've ever run a stream like this. So, J. Edgar usually does a thing that he's thankful for. And today I'm going to go a little bit pretty personal with the thing I'm thankful for. And, well, we're going to get serious. So, I've got to take off the goggles. Recently, in my family's history, my mom has been experiencing terrible migraines, and we thought she got a neck surgery, hoping that would help her out. Didn't help much, but recently she has been improving after some changes to her treatment, and I'm happy to say and very thankful that she is improving. She's getting out and about again. She's still dealing with some back issues, but that's a separate thing. And she, said recently she finally felt, half human again, and I am really thankful that she's finally improving after all these years. And that will be the thing I'm thankful for. And I would like to close out the show with a Bible verse. Ecclesiastes 2:13. I saw that wisdom is better than folly, just as light is better than darkness. A quote that I try to live my life by. I want to thank you all for suffering through this with me. I know I am not J. Edgar. I know I am just a lowly IT guy that got shanghaied into this. But hey, it was fun. I hope you all have a good day, a good rest of your week. Please check out the other Freedom Scoop guys. Guys like, obviously J. Edgar, though I'm currently on his show. Stephen Ignoramus. Generational Gap. Freckles and Brit. Breakdown with Birkenhoff and the R-Rated Conservative. Check all those guys out. Hit like and subscribe. And if you can, throw a couple of bucks each their way. Y'all have a good day, good rest of your week. Thank you all for joining me this day. Good luck, Godspeed, and I hope if all hell breaks loose, we could all, and we don't make it, we'll all be able to meet up at the same bar in hell. God bless you all, and God bless the United States of America. Goodbye.